Shalom royalty, it's Ellie here, and today is day 3. What's going on here? Today is day 3 of how to start and run a prayer group. And so the name of this chapter in our prayer guide book is called Prayer Meeting 101. It says, oftentimes the question is asked, how do you pray corporately? While each group will have its own expression, these are some helpful tips in creating a culture of prayer. The main components are the structure of the prayer meeting, different styles of prayer. And then it goes over a few different ways you can pray. And it says the main components of a prayer meeting. You have the prayer leader and you have the worship leader. You have the structure, depending on, how long you want to pray and how you want to break up that prayer session. So they have two examples, the 1 hour model where it's 15 minutes of worship, 35 minutes of prayer, and 10 minutes of worship, or 2 hours where it could be 30 minutes of worship, 1 hour of prayer, 30 minutes of worship again, or 30 minutes of worship, 40 minutes of prayer, 30 minutes of worship, and another 20-minute prayer. Now, the styles of prayer, those are very interesting. So you can do the one at a time where pretty much everybody goes around in a circle and prays individually. It says the benefit of this is it is sustainable for longer periods of time. The challenge is it is harder to keep the rest of the group engaged as the individual is praying. Well, yeah, that's just what they listed. It's like when you're in a group for prayer, I don't think the focus can get lost very easily, but maybe they've experienced certain things like that, and so that's why they put that in their challenge box. The small group style. So the benefit of that is it engages the group by breaking them into smaller groups where individuals can pray. And the challenge is it is harder to manage multiple groups, and keep them focused on the prayer topic. Now that I can attest to that. So it's saying you have a group of 3 to 4 people who are in their own prayer group of several different groups. So let's say you have 12 people total. And then you have 3 different groups with 4 people. Those 4 people, they might start off praying, but then they could start talking about stuff. They could start gossiping possibly. They could start, just getting completely off topic, talking about things that they shouldn't be talking about. They don't even necessarily have to be bad. It's just the fact that it's not prayer. I definitely see that. And so that is a definite way that you can have a prayer style. And this one is called concerted intercession. I'm going to read this entire section here. The prayer leader will announce a topic and then call the group to pray out loud together. He or she must work to keep the group engaged together and focused on the prayer topic. The benefit is it engages the whole group at once and is also conducive to explosive intercession. The challenge, it is hard to sustain over a long period of time. Now, my experience with that is mostly when people are praying in tongues. Yes, you can pray your regular language, but I've noticed that it's the most effective when it's done in tongues because people aren't getting thrown off track by what someone else is saying. So instead of, being in the spirit, and let's just say I speak English, that's my first language. So I'll be speaking English and I'll hear somebody else speaking English, and then I'll listen to what they're talking about and try to bounce off of what they're saying. Instead of being in my own spirit, in my own space with the Lord, I'm copying someone else. Whereas if you're speaking in tongues, you don't get off track like that. You're able to focus more on what it is you and God are talking about. And I know speaking in tongues is controversial for some people. If you don't believe in speaking tongues, I highly recommend you look up the spiritual gifts. Also, if you don't believe that speaking in tongues isn't a direct language all the time, it can be someone speaking someone else's language, like the day of Pentecost in the Bible. But Paul also said that he speaks basically human talk and angelic talk, and their spiritual tongues as well. You can find that, I believe, in some First Corinthians. It's one of the teen chapters, so between chapter 13 to chapter 16, if I'm not mistaken. That's where you can find more information on that. I know that can be controversial. I understand that a few Hebrews don't really believe in speaking in tongues. Now, the thing is, I can speak and interpret tongues, so it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you're telling me that my gift is invalid, and it's like, I mean, that is a spiritual gift, so I mean, I don't know what you're talking about, but hey, if you believe that speaking in tongues can only be in someone else's other language and you don't have your own holy language with the Holy Spirit, then okay, that might not just be for you then. But for those of us who do believe in speaking in tongues, then I just recommend speaking in your holy tongues in prayer when you're talking about, they named it concerted intercession. And so, yeah, that's when everyone's praying at one time. And here we have a quote. It says, "We have taught a generation to feast and play, but the times demand we fast and pray." That is very, very true. Okay, that's the end of that chapter. I'm going to go over a couple of points. So basically, when you have a prayer leader, it doesn't necessarily have to be one person. It can also be a prayer team. They can be, 1 to 3 people who are conducting everything, who have the structure set up, who know the different things. Because here's the thing. When you have a prayer group, your intention is for it to grow. So even if you start out with 2 or 3 people, eventually you're going to attract 10, 15, 20 people or more. So you do have to have that central leadership between 1 to 3 people usually. And worship leader, people who like, whether it be music or they have a way of bringing in the Holy Spirit through whatever it is that you're doing. So, they might have a great worship playlist. They might have the best songs, whether they sing themselves or not. This sentence says, "The worship leader should coordinate with the prayer leader to engage with other prayer topics." And so, if the prayer leaders have a particular topic that they want to pray about, the worship leader can find a song that fits that narrative. And so that's it for this prayer guide section. I do want to remind you guys of this book. It's called The 7 Mountain Prophecy by Johnny Enlow, unveiling the coming Elijah revolution. And it talks about the 7 areas of our culture that shape our culture that need to be won for Christ in order for us to be able to turn things around. If you don't know who Elijah is, he was a great prophet in the Bible, and he had what's it called, a predecessor? Basically someone he was mentoring, and his name was Elisha. And when Elijah died, Elisha requested for his spirit to be poured on him twice as much so he could perform twice as many miracles and prophesy twice as much as Elijah did. And that's what happened. He was able to receive a double dose of his spirit. And there is an Elijah revolution. I think that's happening right now. And then next will be coming the Elisha revolution in the next upcoming generations. That's how I feel about it. I'm not 100% sure what other prophets have to say about it, but Johnny Enlow wrote this in 2008, or it was published in 2008, and it's still very, very valid here in 2021. It's crazy that so much time has passed by, and the prophet's words are now manifesting. They're now coming to fruition, and we're so not used to prophecy for some reason. I don't know why that is, because Paul tells us in the Bible that we should covet the gift of prophecy more than any other gift. So the fact that prophecy has been shunned basically by the church is such a weird conundrum to me. I don't really understand why that is, but I do recommend you guys to get this book so you can know what to intercede for the nations. And I do have an Amazon link in the description box. It is my affiliate link, but you can find it anywhere. You can just Google this book, and you don't have to order it off Amazon, and you don't have to use my link specifically. But I'm just saying it's available. It's the direct link to the book. And so, yeah, just make sure you get this book by Johnny Enlow, The 7 Mountain Prophecy. and it tells you what's going on right now and what needs to happen and what's going to happen regardless. And so, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Shalom, royalty.